Go.
Hi everyone, this is the ethics presentation for English 205 Business Communications with Professor Jackson at California State University, Northridge, fall semester 2017. This is group superlative presenting on the ethics of the pharmaceutical industry. My name is Amber Norris. So let's start with a little bit of background on the pharmaceutical industry. This industry is a group that's made up of drug manufacturers, biotechnology companies, as well as the distribution wholesale companies that the products are handled in. Most of the revenues that the pharmaceuticals make is through the drug companies producing prescriptions, generics, and over-the-counter medications. There is a huge percentage of funds that go to the research and development of these drugs. So this is in part of the biotechnology companies that use the knowledge of living cells to further their studies. Pharmaceuticals is known to be one of the largest employers of scientists. So the history of pharmaceuticals is hard to place, being that it's first supposed to have been dated back in the medieval times. At this point, herbs and plants were used because they were believed to have medical properties. Some of these practices were actually to prove to be helpful, and they are still around today, and you can still find people using herbal remedies to cure illnesses. The biggest turning point may have been the discovery of insulin and penicillin in the early 20th century. After that, these products began to be mass-produced, paving the way for research and discovery of medicines today that can help prevent and heal. So in today's society, there are leaders of the pharmaceutical industry. These leaders have been given the nickname Big Pharma, for they are able to generate about 50% of the industry's total sales. These companies have headquarters all over the world, spanning from the United States, United Kingdom, Switzerland, Germany, and France. Some of the biggest names in the diversified companies in the industry are as follows. So we've got Jackson & Jackson in the United States, Bayer in Germany, and we've also got the non-diversified companies being Norris in Switzerland and Pfizer in the US. Along with these companies that are used to distribute the drugs, we have Amgen as being one of the largest sellers for the biotech industry. All in all, this industry will stick around for quite a while to come. They're constantly developing new medicines for illnesses. They're having to battle hard and new diseases that get found every single day. So I'll now pass the torch to my teammates that'll help you understand the ethical issues that the pharmaceutical industry has to face, that they've faced in the past, and as well as the new struggles that they are to overcome today.
One of the major ethical issues in the pharmaceutical industry is price gouging. Price gouging is when a company raises the price of a product by an obscene amount for no other reason except to benefit the company. A popular example of this in the pharmaceutical industry is in the case of Turing Pharmaceuticals. Turing Pharmaceuticals raised the price of Daraprim, which is a prescription drug commonly used to treat AIDS, from $13.50 a pill to $750 a pill overnight. The problem this creates is that it leads to a lack of affordability for consumers that are dependent on that drug for treatment. The problem goes even further beyond that. Not only are people not able to afford the drug, but they now have to worry about increased insurance rates. This is because certain insurance companies have plans that cover prescription drugs, such as Medicare's Part B plan. This means that the insurance companies have to pay more for those prescription drugs, so to offset that cost, they increase their insurance rates. Now people are not able to afford the drugs they need for treatment and have to pay more for insurance rates. This is an ethical issue that needs to be solved. The second major ethical issue in the pharmaceutical industry that I would like to talk about is drug testing. Drug testing ensures the safety, effectiveness, and quality of all the drugs people use and the drugs that are on the market. Many companies use underhanded tactics to avoid and bypass drug testing. These tactics include publishing false results, using animals as test subjects, and using prisoners' organs for test subjects. The reason they do this is because no one will ask questions because they aren't using humans. Milan Pharmaceuticals recently received a warning from the FDA for failing to meet quality control standards. The quality control group at Milan Pharmaceuticals' manufacturing plants was not able to ensure the credibility, integrity, and accuracy of their test results. This creates a big issue for when people buy drugs on the market. If drugs are not properly tested and the results are not properly published, they will receive and use ineffective and unsafe drugs. These drugs may have harmful side effects that can lead to a global crisis. The inability of companies to ensure their drug testing shows a lack of moral care. Another up-and-coming issue in the pharmaceutical industry is that many companies run clinical trials in foreign countries. These foreign countries have many people living in poor conditions. These people living in poor conditions are not used to receiving medical care and cannot afford it, so they jump at the opportunity for any sort of medication. The companies run clinical trials to test drugs that are potentially unsafe on these poor people. This is wrong because they know that drugs are potentially unsafe, but they're taking advantage of these people's conditions in order to test their drugs. Many companies deny these allegations, but there is proof that this is happening around the world. The ethical issues created by price gouging and drug testing are issues that can affect and do affect everyone around the world. These issues need to be solved because people are dependent on these drugs to receive treatment.
There have been instances where pharmaceutical companies have practiced unethical behavior in the past and in the present. One of the most problematic, and the one that has affected most American citizens, is price gouging. In these instances, prices of certain products, in this case pharmaceutical drugs, are priced extremely high, even though they don't need to be. So much that it is potentially unethical. However, price gouging has the ability to be controlled and regulated by the government and even companies themselves. If companies took certain steps and the government enforced certain policies, the unethical practice of price gouging in pharmaceutical industries will no longer be a problem. Specific ways that companies are able to combat pharmaceutical price gouging is paying close attention to how they are doing business and who they are doing business with. When conducting business with pharmaceutical manufacturers, one must make sure that price control as well as price protection are incorporated into the contracts with these manufacturers. This prohibits an increase in price for a particular drug. Companies should practice this in order to prevent sudden and unexpected price increases of a certain drug. When building networks, companies also have the ability to exclude certain pharmacies that have a history of dramatically increasing drug prices. The government also plays a big role in regulating and controlling drug prices from dramatically increasing. The government can decrease the incentive for pharmaceutical industries to partake in drug gouging by making it available for pharmacies to get supplies from other trusted nations at significantly lower prices. This can be possible by enforcing the Medicare Moderation Act of 2003, where the FDA allows drug imports from other countries when they are considered safe and able to save Americans lots of money. Promoting competition is also an effective way to encourage lower pharmaceutical drug prices. This can be done by passing a bill that was proposed called the CREATES Act of 2016. By requiring manufacturers of brand name drugs to supply the other generic manufacturers with a sample of their product, it allows alternative similar working drugs to hit the market and increase competition.
This part of the presentation is going to focus on a discussion of the ethical company Pfizer. Pfizer is a US-based pharmaceutical company that states that it is committed to being an exemplary corporate citizen that is dedicated to discovering and developing innovative medicines and making them available to people all around the world. Pfizer holds many valuable patents to drugs needed by people, especially by those who can't seem to afford them. And Pfizer is therefore often faced with pressure from many sources that make those drugs available to no or a reduced cost. Pfizer used to be a very unethical pharmaceutical company because they conducted the largest drug testing program ever undertaken by enrolling thousands of subjects in clinical tests in 1996. They were testing the antibiotic drug called Trovan on children in Nigeria, even though prior animal testing indicated that the drug might cause significant side effects in children. The drug was not approved by the FDA, which is the Food and Drug Administration. Among other charges, Pfizer had marketed and promoted the drugs for so-called off-labels, uses not approved by the FDA. FDA has issued regulations covering IND products to protect human subjects enrolled in these clinical trials. For example, must sponsors submit chemistry, manufacturing, and control information on a drug or biological products as part of an IND application. FDA reviews the submitted IND to determine whether the investigational drug to be used in the clinical trial is sufficiently safe to permit the trial to proceed. However, in recent years, Pfizer has become what can be described as an ethical company. Pfizer became the first pharmaceutical company to be accredited by the Association for the Accreditation of Human Research Project Protection Programs for ensuring the protection of human subjects taking part in early stage clinical trials. And according to Martin McKay, who is the president of Pfizer Global Research and Development, Pfizer is committed to upholding the highest ethical standards in all of their clinical trials, all of their clinical research activities. So the way they earn their trust, Pfizer, the Association for the Accreditation of Human Research Protection Programs is a way for Pfizer to earn public trust for integrity in research. And another way for them to earn trust by the public is that all Pfizer-sponsored trials, regardless of where they are conducted, are carried out under the same international standards. And Pfizer has made training programs and been developing new organizational structures to go beyond compliance to help ensure the highest standards of ethical behavior throughout the company. And also to ensure that the business is conducting consistently and ethically around the world. Pfizer colleagues worldwide are trained and tested in Pfizer's Code Business Conduct, known as the Blue Book, which explains Pfizer's commitment to maintaining these high standards and performing with integrity. Pfizer has also made considerable investments to prevent bribery and corruption. And lastly, Pfizer believes that it is important to educate patients and providers about healthcare treatments when it comes to their responsibilities to promoting their products. They also strive to respect human rights in all of their business activities.